Hi, this is Kurt from Flint.
And Jamie in Austin.
So we're trying something new that we would like to call Just a Sip.
Not instant coffee.
This is a federal building down by Morphosis Architects in San Francisco, which I think it's a federal office facility, not an embassy or anything like that, but just a commercial office building that was commissioned by the federal government, and Morphosis happened to win the bid. And this is actually one of their early buildings. I'll do the quick history, being the super fan of Morphosis, but also in my free time.
Aren't we all like super fans of Morphosis? Like if we're of a certain age, I mean,
yeah, I think so.
And predilection for deconstruction and drawing and.
Well, it is funny because my students aren't as aware of Morphosis as I would like them to be. So generationally, you're right. I'm finding that a little strange. So I recently on YouTube figured out I'm an architect and started populating my stream with my suggested videos with some architecture stuff, and then a couple of Thom Mayne things came up. And so the San Francisco Federal Building was one of Morphosis Architects' first big buildings that was actually completed. It's not the first, but it was one of the early building projects that they completed that was a tall building and of a substantial square footage. And so I watched this video, a lecture basically of Thom Mayne, which I've seen him in person many times, but this was an older lecture. So it started with a lot of his early, even unbuilt stuff, right? Stuff that
the stuff that he did with Michael Rotundi and
Jamie had. Well, you spent some time with Michael teaching, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, which was fun. He's quite a character and quite talented. But yeah, he was not part of this project.
No, yeah, this is...
Yeah, they definitely had different firms by then. So.
After that, yeah. And so the one aspect that I wanted to touch on, which I find, personally relatable, is he made this comment while presenting this project and then also some of his China work, right? So he's done work in Shanghai and a couple other decent, now there's even more, but at the time, like with this lecture, he was sort of segueing into the design of this building, the giant campus in Shanghai, which was only in design. And he mentioned, but he was, talking about this project, and then previous to this was Caltrans, the Los Angeles, California Transit Authority headquarters, which was equally big, not quite the size of the federal building, but another step, right, in this, and a sort of municipal structure where he had to go through a municipal process of getting the project. Anyway, so the point that he made, which it's kind of funny, before I even mention that also, is at first when watching this old lecture, I thought I wasn't going to get much out of it because I had seen him in person a few times over the years and also very familiar with lots of his projects. I actually learned a lot of things or thought of things very differently having revisited this. And
because of your own experiences now.
Yeah, after working for myself and spending some time in the profession, there's certain aspects, so it's sort of a new appreciation in another level. But so about this idea of the public process, so without getting into the weeds about trying to teach everybody about qualification-based selections and all that stuff, Thom Mayne made a pretty succinct point about it. He said, with his relative to his China work, right? When asked, or if asked, he was almost using this as a recommendation to the students that he was lecturing to. If you are in a position where you're potentially going to be hired in China for a project, and they ask the question, have you ever done this kind of project before? The answer should be no. and that this would be the first time this project has ever been designed, and it's specifically for you, the client. And that's the correct answer in a China situation, or a, let's say, an
or
overseas,
yeah, overseas, internationally. Yeah, I would agree.
international,
Hmm.
relationship building and so on. And then in comparison, which if any, or I don't know what the stats are, but I'm sure a lot of our listeners are in the United States. He made a mention of how projects, especially municipal projects and governmental, like this federal building, are won in the United States. So ask the same question on stateside. Have you ever done this project before? The answer is yes. We've done this 1,000 times. This will be the 15th time we're designing it for you, and so it should be a no-brainer. And so the stark polar opposites is what really struck me. And I don't think I ever heard him mention that in a lecture that I've been to in person. But yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it's just something about process that we've decided as a country to hire and acquire architecture services, needing to have like this long list of previous versions of a similar building.